Hello and welcome to the tutorial for Juju the Cappy in a Bath. We're going to begin by crocheting its head/body, so grab your natural colored yarn and your hook and let's get started. We're going to be working around the chain which has already been made for you, so gently pull it out from the center and we'll take a closer look at everything. Arrange it so that this loop is on the right hand side. Go ahead and insert your hook into this big loop now and tighten it until it fits comfortably, not too tight, not too loose. And now you should be looking at 5 chains right now, which are these little V's. The very first chain doesn't have a stitch marker in it because we won't be working into it. We're just going to completely ignore it. So the second, third, and fourth chains are the ones that have been marked with these stitch markers. And then the last chain is unmarked as well. Each chain has a top loop and bottom loop, and we'll be working into both eventually, but we'll start with the top loops. And now we're going to make 1 single crochet in each of these loops that have been marked. Let's learn how to make a single crochet. Begin by removing the first stitch marker. And now remember to skip the first chain and insert your hook into the top loop of the second chain. Now yarn over, which means to place the yarn on top of the hook and pull it back through the loop we inserted our hook into. You should now have 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over again and pull it through both of the loops. That's our first single crochet. Now take your stitch marker and we're going to place it in this single crochet or stitch that we just made. Just insert it under both loops under the little V on top. Great job. And now we're going to make a single crochet in the next chain, so remove that stitch marker. But before we make the single crochet, we're going to take this stitch marker and place it in the bottom loop of the previous chain, just right below the single crochet we made. We're going to be working into the bottom loops later, and this one can be kind of tricky to find if we don't mark it now. Great job, and now we're going to make the next single crochet. So get ready and find the next chain's top loop. Now insert your hook in it, yarn over, and pull it through. Yarn over again and pull through both loops. Great job, everyone. Now we need to make 1 single crochet in the next chain. So remove that stitch marker. So insert your hook in the top loop, yarn over, pull it through, yarn over again, and pull through both loops. Now in the next chain, we're going to make a triple increase, which is 3 single crochets. We'll make 2 in the top loop and then 1 in the bottom loop. So go ahead and make the first single crochet. Perfect, and now reinsert your hook in there. And before you do the next step, take this yarn end, aka yarn tail, and move it so it's out of the way. Perfect. And now yarn over and pull it through. Then yarn over again and pull through both. Now we're officially going to start working on the other side of the chain. So find the bottom loop and insert your hook. And make a single crochet. And now we're going to make 1 single crochet in each of the next 2 loops. So let's go ahead and do that. Great job, everyone. Now in this last loop where we place the stitch marker at the beginning, we're going to make 2 single crochets in there, which is called an increase. So make the first single crochet. There's my first single crochet, and now I'm going to reinsert my hook and make the second. Perfect, and that's round 1 basically done. You should have 10 stitches, so do a quick count, and then when you're ready, we need to slip stitch to the first and chain 1. So remove the stitch marker from the first stitch, and to make a slip stitch, you need to insert your hook under both loops of it, yarn over, and pull it through. You should now have 2 loops on your hook. We're going to pull the first one through the second one, just like that. And now we need to chain 1. To make a chain, you need to yarn over and then pull it through the loop on your hook. And that's it. Great job, everyone. And now we're ready to begin round 2. For round 2, we're going to begin with an increase in the first stitch. So let's go ahead and do that. Reinsert your hook into the stitch where we just made the slip stitch and make the first single crochet. Don't forget to place your stitch marker in there. And now reinsert your hook in there again and make another single crochet. Perfect. Now we're going to make 1 single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. There's my first one. And there's my second. And now we're going to increase, increase, increase. 1 increase in each of the next 3 stitches. So let's make the first increase. Perfect. Now increase in the next one. And 1 more time, increase in the next. Awesome, and now we're going to make 1 single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. There we go, great job everyone. And now we're going to increase, increase. There's my first increase. Now increase again in the very last stitch. Perfect, and we're always going to ignore the slip stitch and chain 1. So count and make sure that you have 16 stitches, and then finish as we always will, with a slip stitch to the first one, and then chain 1. Round 3. This time we're going to increase in the first and then single crochet, single crochet, single crochet. So let's make the increase. Don't forget your stitch marker. Perfect. Now we need to make 1 single crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. I'm speeding this up, but you can slow it down in the settings below. Great job. Now we're going to single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase. So let's make 1 single crochet in the next one. And now increase in the next stitch. Perfect, now do that 2 more times and I'll meet you on the other side of this. You're doing such a great job. Now we're going to make 1 single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. Awesome, and now we're going to increase, single crochet, and increase in the last stitch. And don't forget, you can slow this down if you need to. You did it! You should now have 22 stitches. And when you're done, finish with a slip stitch and chain 1. Time for round 4. We're going to increase in the first stitch and then make 1 single crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. So let's go ahead and do that. Great job. And now we're going to single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase. Very similar to the last round. Fantastic. And now we're going to single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase. So I'm just finishing up the increase, and you should now have 28 stitches before finishing with the slip stitch and chain 1. Now for rounds 5 and 6, so 2 rounds total, all we're going to do is make 1 single crochet in every stitch around. So I'll get the first round started with you, but super easy, just single crocheting around, making a total of 28 single crochets before slip stitching and chaining 1. Great job. I'm going to do round 6 off camera, but I'll show you how it looks at the end, and then I'll come back for round 7. Here's how round 6 looks. You're doing such a great job, everyone. Now for round 7, we're going to walk through this a lot slower. Make a single crochet in the first stitch, and then an increase. Don't forget your stitch marker. Perfect. And now we're going to make 1 single crochet in each of the next 6 stitches. Awesome. Great job. Count and make sure that you've made 9 single crochets before we move on. Now we're going to single crochet, decrease, single crochet, decrease, single crochet, decrease. So make your first single crochet, and then we'll learn how to decrease. Awesome, there we go. And now we're going to make a decrease. To make a decrease, instead of inserting your hook under both loops, we're only going to insert it into the front loop, or the loop that's closer to you. And now insert your hook into the front loop of the next stitch. Now you can yarn over and pull it back through. You should have 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over again and pull through both loops. And that's the decrease. Great job. Now we need to single crochet in the next stitch. If you're confused about which is the next one, it's the one that's completely untouched and you can see both loops of it very clearly. And now make another decrease. Insert your hook into the front loop of the stitch. Then insert your hook into the front loop of the next one. Yarn over and pull it through. Yarn over and pull through both loops. Now make a single crochet in the next stitch. And now it's time for another decrease. Insert your hook into the front loop of the stitch, then insert into the next front loop. Yarn over and pull it through. Yarn over and pull through both loops. Great job, everybody. Now we're going to make 1 single crochet in each of the next 8 stitches. So make 8 single crochets and then I'll meet you for the end of the round. Awesome. Now we're going to increase, single crochet, and increase in the very last stitch. So there's my increase. Now make a single crochet in the next one. Perfect. Now increase in the very last stitch. You should still have 28 stitches, and when you're done, as always, slip stitch to the first and chain 1 to get ready for the next round. Round 8, this one will be a little bit easier. We're going to start by making 1 single crochet in each of the first 9 stitches. So go ahead and do that. Great job, and now we're going to make 3 decreases. There's my first one. There's the second. And there's my final decrease. Now finish by making 1 single crochet in the rest of the stitches, so make 13 single crochets, and I'll come back for the next round. But you should have 25 stitches at the end and finish with a slip stitch and chain 1. Round 9. Very similar to the last round, just a little different. Start by making 1 single crochet in each of the next 9 stitches. And now we need to single crochet 3 together, which is kind of like a triple decrease. So let's learn how to do that. Start by inserting your hook into the front loop of the next stitch. Yarn over and pull it through. And now insert your hook into the next front loop. Yarn over and pull it through. Then one more time, insert your hook into the next one. yarn over and pull it through. You should now have 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over one more time and pull through all 4 loops. Easy peasy. Great job, everyone. Now finish this round just like last time. Make 1 single crochet in every remaining stitch. So make 13 single crochets, and I'll meet you for the next round. You should have 23 stitches at the end before slip stitching to the first and chaining 1. Round 10. We're going to start by making 8 single crochets. Easy peasy, so go ahead and do that. Awesome, and now we're going to increase, increase, increase. There's my first increase, and now I need to make 2 more increases. Great job, and now finish by making 1 single crochet in the rest of the stitches. So make 12 single crochets before slip stitching to the first and chaining 1, and you should have 26 stitches at the end. Now for rounds 11 and 12, so 2 rounds total, all you're going to do is make 1 single crochet in every stitch around. So make 26 single crochets before slip stitching and chaining 1. I'll do a little check-in after each round so you can compare yours to mine, but I'll officially come back for round 18. And here's round 12. Great job, everybody. We're so close to the end now. Round 13. We're going to start by making 1 single crochet in the very first stitch. And now we're going to single crochet, decrease, repeated 6 times around. And then we'll end with 1 single crochet in the very last stitch. So go ahead and make 2 single crochets. Perfect, and now a decrease. Great job, and now repeat that 5 more times. I'm going to speed it up and I'll meet you for the very last single crochet. So I'm making my final decrease now, and like I said, we're going to finish with 1 single crochet in the last stitch. You should now have 20 stitches, so do a quick count before making your slip stitch and chain 1, and then we'll start the next round. Time for round 14. Just like the last round, we're going to begin with a single crochet in the first stitch. Now we're going to single crochet, decrease 6 times around, ending with the single crochet in the last stitch, just like last time. So make your first single crochet. Perfect, and now a decrease. And now do that 5 more times, and I'll come back and meet you for the last single crochet. So I'm making my last decrease now, and once you're ready, we're going to end with a single crochet in the very last stitch. There we go, perfect. You should now have 14 stitches before slip stitching and chaining 1. Great job, and before we move on to the last round, we need to stuff the body. Place your stitch marker in the loop where your hook is. This is going to prevent it from accidentally unraveling, and then we'll start stuffing. So grab your stuffing, and we're going to firmly stuff the project. Start at the bottom down in the head, and then work your way up. Try and line the walls before placing the stuffing in the middle. Check it from all angles to see if there are any spots that look deflated or empty, and stuff accordingly. You also don't want to put too much stuffing in it because it can cause your stitches to stretch out and show the inside. Also, this is the only thing that requires stuffing, so feel free to use all of it if you need to. Once you're happy with it, do a little squeeze test to make sure it's keeping its shape, and then we'll start crocheting again. Great job, everyone. Now you can put your hook back into the loop and remove the stitch marker. Round 15, our last round. To finish this up, all we're going to do is decrease, decrease, decrease all the way around. So insert your hook into the front loop of the first stitch. Then insert your hook into the front loop of the next stitch and finish your decrease as normal. Place your stitch marker in there, and now continue by making 6 more decreases. I'll speed it up, and I'll meet you at the end to finish. Great job, so you should now have 7 stitches, and when you're done, finish with a slip stitch and chain 1 as always. And then we're going to fasten off. Cut the yarn, leaving a nice long tail that we're going to use to close up this hole. Now use your hook to pull the yarn through the chain 1 and give the yarn a tug to tighten the knot. Now grab your tapestry needle and thread the end of the yarn through it. I like to put the yarn end next to the hole and use my finger to kind of rub it through. To close the hole, we're going to insert our needle into the front loop of all 7 stitches. So find your first stitch. You might have to kind of shimmy the knot to the side to find it. Then insert it under the front loop only, going from the inside to the outside or away from you. That's our first one done. Now insert your needle under the front loop of the next one and pull it through. And that's our second one done. Keep going through all 7. There's 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now's the fun part. Pull the yarn, and like magic, the hole is going to tighten and close up. Great job, everyone. So satisfying. I love that part. And now we're going to hide the yarn inside the body. So insert it down into a nearby stitch and bring it out through a random stitch on the other side of the body. Perfect. We're going to repeat that a few more times. The yarn is going to tangle up with the stuffing inside and prevent your work from coming undone. So just insert your needle back into the stitch it came out of and bring it out through a random spot. Do that a couple more times. And then you can trim the excess and use your needle to pull it back into the body and hide it. Or you can use your needle to kind of shove it back in there. And that's it. Let's start the next part. We're going to begin by making the bathtub. So grab your orange yarn and let's get started. We need to begin by making a magic ring. I'm going to show you my favorite way to make one, but if you're an advanced crocheter, then feel free to make it the traditional way. Take the yarn with your right hand and you want to bring it up between your pointer and middle fingers of your left hand and drape it over your pointer finger. And then use your ring and pinky fingers to hold the working yarn against your palm. Now pinch the tail of the yarn with your middle finger and thumb. Now take the tail and make a loop that goes under the point that you're pinching and re-pinch it. Just like that. And this is our magic ring. Now take your hook and insert it into the ring with your hook facing down. Grab the yarn and bring it through the ring, then twist the hook towards you and up. And chain 1. Great job. Now we're going to make 8 single crochets into the ring. Insert your hook, yarn over and pull it through, yarn over again and pull through both. And don't forget your stitch marker. And now make 7 more single crochets and I'll meet you at the end. Once you've made 8 single crochets, then you can pull the tail to close the ring. And as always, to finish a round, we need to slip stitch to the first one and chain 1. For round 2, we're going to increase in every stitch around. Make 2 single crochets into every stitch. I'm going to speed up through this and I'll meet you at the end. Great job! You should now have 16 stitches, and as always, we're going to finish with a slip stitch and chain 1. For round 3, we're going to single crochet, increase all the way around. So let's make the first single crochet. Perfect, and now let's increase in the next one. Great job. Now repeat that 7 more times and I'll meet you at the end after making 24 stitches and slip stitching and chaining 1. Time for round 4. We're going to single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase, all the way around. So let's make the first 2 single crochets. Great job. Now we need to increase. And now repeat that 7 more times and I'll meet you at the end. You should now have 32 stitches and finish as always with a slip stitch and chain 1. Round 5. We're going to make a single crochet in every stitch all the way around, but in the back loop only. So insert your hook into the loop of the first stitch that's farther away from you and make a single crochet. Easy peasy, and don't forget your stitch marker. You're going to make 32 single crochets in the back loop only, and then slip stitch to the first and chain 1 at the end. Now for rounds 6, 7, and 8, so 3 rounds total, all you're going to do is make 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way around. Slip stitch to the first, chain 1, and repeat. I'll get this round started with you, but then I'll do a little check-in at the end of each round so you can see how it looks, but I'll officially come back for our last round, round 9. Here's round 6. This is round 7. And round 8. Great job, everyone. Now for the final round, we're going to make 1 single crochet in every stitch, but in the front loop only this time. So I'll get this round started with you, but then I'll meet you at the end to finish it up. So you should still have 32 stitches and it should be curling out a little bit. Once you're ready, then as always, slip stitch to the first and chain 1, and then we'll fasten off. Grab your scissors and cut the yarn. Don't worry about leaving a long tail. We're just going to hide it away later. Pull it through the chain 1, then tug the yarn to secure the knot. Great job, everyone. Set this aside and let's make our next piece. We're going to make the fun little orange that goes on top of the head now. So grab your orange yarn and your green yarn. We're going to make the orange first. We need to begin by making a magic ring. So bring the tail up through your pointer and middle. Hold the working yarn against your palm with your ring finger and pinky. Pinch the tail with your middle finger and thumb. And then make a loop with the tail that goes under the point you were pinching and re-pinch it. Now insert your hook face down and bring the yarn through the ring, twisting towards you and up, and chain 1. Now we want to make 6 single crochets into the ring. Once you've made 6, then you can pull the tail and close the ring. And as always, slip stitch to the first and chain 1 to get ready for the next round. Round 2, we're going to increase in every stitch around. So let's insert our hook into the first stitch and make our first increase. Perfect, and now continue making an increase in every stitch. I'm going to speed it up, but feel free to slow it down if you need to. Great job, you should now have 12 stitches, and when you're done, finish with a slip stitch and chain 1. Round 3, easy peasy round. We're going to make 1 single crochet in every stitch. So I'll speed this up and meet you at the end. Fantastic, you should still have 12 stitches and finished with a slip stitch and chain 1. Round 4, our last round. We're going to decrease in every stitch around. So there's my first decrease, and now you need to make 5 more decreases. Great job. When you're finished, you should have 6 stitches. And real quick, you can stuff the tail from the magic ring into the sphere to get it out of the way. And then end the round with a slip stitch and chain 1, and then we're going to fasten off. Cut it, leaving a long tail that we'll use to sew this to the head later, and pull it up and through the chain 1 and give it a tug to secure the knot. But you can set this to the side now and grab your green yarn so that we can make the leaves. To begin, we need to make a slip knot. So take the end of the yarn in your right hand, then wrap it around the pointer finger of your left hand and make a little loop. Slide the loop off your finger and take the tail and bring it to the back like it's splitting the loop in half. Bring the tail through the loop while holding the tail and working yarn until it tightens, and you have your slip knot. Now you can insert the hook and gently tighten it until it fits comfortably around your hook without being too tight. And now we need to chain 10. Great job. And now we're going to make a big ring with it by making a slip stitch in the first one. So make sure you're not twisting the chains and just kind of fold it in half, bringing the first and last chains together. Insert the hook under both loops of the first chain and make a slip stitch. Great job. Now we want to pinch this together by pushing the side down to where our hook is. Hold it down against the hook and make sure it's behind the loop on our hook, but in front of the working yarn, because we want to make a tight chain to hold this in place. It can be a little tricky to do, but once you have it held down and with the yarn centered behind it, make a chain 1 around it. We want the chain to be really tight around it. Tug the yarn when you're done to make it extra tight. So now it should look like a little bow. When you're ready, we'll finish by chaining 1 and then cut the yarn. Don't worry about leaving a super long tail. Then pull the yarn through the chain 1 and tug the yarn to secure the knot. And there's our cute set of leaves all finished. Great job, everyone. Grab your brown yarn and we'll make the arms now. We need to start by making a magic ring. Take the yarn with your right hand and you want to bring it up between your pointer and middle fingers of your left hand. And then use your ring and pinky fingers to hold the working yarn against your palm. Now pinch the tail of the yarn with your middle finger and thumb. Now take the tail and make a loop that goes under the point that you're pinching and re-pinch it. Now take your hook and insert it into the ring with your hook facing down. Grab the yarn and bring it through the ring, then twist the hook towards you and up and chain 1. Great job. Now we want to make 4 single crochets into the ring. Once you've made 4, then you can pull the tail and close the ring. And as always, we'll slip stitch the first and chain 1 to get ready for the next round. But obviously these stitches are pretty far apart, so insert your hook into the first stitch and then pull the yarn nice and tight to help bring the stitches together. Then you can yarn over and finish the slip stitch as normal. Great job, and then chain 1 and we'll start the next round. For round 2, all we're going to do is make 1 single crochet in every stitch. Easy peasy. Let's get started. Once you've made your 4 single crochets, we're going to slip stitch the first. Chain 1, cut the yarn, leaving a nice long tail, and we're going to use this to sew it to the body later. And then just pull the yarn up and through the chain 1 and give it a little tug to tighten and secure the knot. Repeat those 2 rounds and make 1 more arm, and then we'll move on to the next part. Keep your brown yarn handy and we'll make the ears now. To begin, we need to make a slip knot. So take the end of the yarn in your right hand, then wrap it around the pointer finger of your left hand and make a little loop. Slide the loop off your finger and take the tail and bring it to the back like it's splitting the loop in half. Bring the tail through the loop while holding the tail and working yarn until it tightens, and you have your slip knot. Now you can insert the hook and gently tighten it until it fits comfortably around your hook without being too tight. Now we need to chain 4. Perfect. Now grab your stitch marker and we're going to place it under both loops of the chain that we just made. We're going to skip it while crocheting, but we're going to work into it at the end, and it's tricky to find if we don't mark it now. Once you're ready, all we're going to do is skip the first one make a slip stitch in the rest of them. So make 3 slip stitches. Now wiggle your hook under the 2 loops where we placed the stitch marker. And then make a slip stitch. Once you're done, chain 1 and we'll cut the yarn. Cut it leaving a long tail that we'll use to attach it to the head later, then pull it through the chain 1 and tug the yarn to secure the knot. How cute! Make 1 more ear and then we'll get started on the last piece. Grab your white yarn and we'll make the towel. To begin, we need to make a slip knot. So take the end of the yarn in your right hand, then wrap it around the pointer finger of your left hand and make a little loop. Slide the loop off your finger and take the tail and bring it to the back like it's splitting the loop in half. Bring the tail through the loop while holding the tail and working yarn until it tightens, and you have your slip knot. Now you can insert the hook and gently tighten it until it fits comfortably around your hook without being too tight. And now we need to chain 6. Before we start, we want to place a stitch marker in the front loop of the second chain from the hook, so into the loop that's closer to you. We're going to work into it later and it can be tricky to find. Now we're going to skip the first chain and insert the hook into the next back loop, the one that's farther away, and make a single crochet. And don't forget your stitch marker. Now make 1 single crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. Great job, everyone. Now we're going to make a triple increase in this last chain, 2 on this side and 1 on this side. So let's make the first one. Great job, and now reinsert the hook into the loop and then move this other end over and get it out of the way, then finish making the second single crochet. Great job. Now find the other side of this chain. You might have to kind of move the stitches out of the way a little and make the third single crochet. Great job, everyone. Now we're going to single crochet, single crochet, single crochet. And we're going to finish with an increase in the last loop where our stitch marker is. You should have 12 stitches, and then you can remove both stitch markers and slip stitch to the first and chain 1 to get ready for the next round. Our last round, round 2. We're going to begin by making an increase in the very first stitch. Perfect, and now we'll make 1 single crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. Awesome. Now make an increase in each of the next 3 stitches. There we go. Now we're going to make one single crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. And we'll finish with an increase in the very last stitch. You should now have 17 stitches. Then you can slip stitch to the first, chain 1, and then we'll cut the yarn. Don't worry about leaving a long tail, we're just going to hide it later. Pull it up through the chain 1 and tug the yarn to tighten the knot. And all of the crocheting is finished. Now is a perfect time to pause and rest your hands, and in the next part we'll sew everything together. We're going to start by hiding these ends on the tub and towel. We'll start with the magic ring end on the tub. Give it a tug to make sure that this hole is closed, then thread it and we'll get it hidden. Start by bringing it through this loop that's going sideways right above it. Then insert your needle through as many of these stitches that you can fit on your needle. Just go right through these V's. Pull it through nice and tight, and then pull it again so that it kind of scrunches up. Cut the yarn, and then stretch it back out, and it should be hidden away now. Thread your other orange end, and we'll hide that next. Go through these 3 sideways loops that are right below it, and pull it all the way through. Then insert your needle through as many of these stitches that you can fit, and do the same thing. Pull it through, scrunch it up, trim it, and stretch it back out. So easy, so cute. Great job, everyone. Now for the towel, start by threading the end that we got from fastening off. Insert through this sideways loop right below the knot. Then insert through some of these stitches and do what we've been doing. Great job. Now thread the end that's coming from the middle. Go through the stitches right next to it and hide it the exact same way. Perfect job, everyone. Let's start doing some sewing now. Grab your orange and your leaves and we'll attach them together. Thread either of the ends from the leaves, then insert it straight down through the center of round 1 of the orange. Easy peasy, and do the same thing with the other end. Now triple knot these ends, doing it nice and tight. Awesome, and now just twist up the ends and stuff them inside the orange. It's going to kind of act as stuffing for it. So adorable. Let's sew the orange onto the head now. We want the orange to be right on top of the head, close to the back of round 1. Thread your needle. Then, with the orange placed where you'd like it to be, insert your needle into the head and come out on the other side of the stitch, pulling nice and tight. Now insert your needle up through the first stitch of the orange. Then insert going down through the next stitch of the orange. Back to the head now. Insert into the space where we came out of before and come out on the other side of the stitch, following the curve of the orange. Then insert into the orange again, going up through the stitch that we came down through before. Then go down through the next stitch of the orange. Continue sewing it on just like that. Go back into the body where we previously came out, going around the next stitch following the curve, then back up through the previous stitch of the orange and down through the next. Keep going, and I'll meet you at the end to finish it up. I'm going down through the last stitch of the orange now, and I'm going to insert it around the stitch of the head that we worked around at the very beginning. Once you're finished, we're going to insert the needle under the orange, into the head, bringing it out in a random spot, and then we'll weave the yarn in and out of the body until the yarn is completely hidden. So cute. Great job, everyone. Now we're going to sew the ears on. The ears will have a big knot. That side is obviously the back of the ear. Grab your first ear and thread either of the ends. We're going to insert the needle between rounds 3 and 4, a little bit behind the orange. Once you've found that spot, insert your needle into the head and bring it out on the other side of the stitch. Make sure you like how it looks, then thread the other end and insert it in and around the same stitch. Again, make sure you like it, then thread either of the ends, and we're going to insert it going downwards through the sideways loop that's right on the bottom of the ear, and bring it back into the body and out on the other side of the same stitch. Then you can knot the ends together, trim them, and hide them away inside the head. So adorable. Sew the other ear on the exact same way before moving on to the next step. We're going to sew the arms on now. Start by threading your magic ring end, and we'll use that to help position the arm where we want it to be. Start from this triple decrease that we made, and go down to the bottom of the next row. Go about 4 stitches to the side, and insert your needle into the body, bringing it out in a random spot nearby. Make sure you like how it looks, and then thread your other end and we'll sew it on. Make sure that this end is positioned at the bottom, and then we'll sew it on the same way we sewed the orange. Insert into the body and come out on the other side of the stitch. Then insert your needle upwards through the first stitch of the hand, and down through the next stitch of the hand. Then insert back into the body where we came out previously, and bring it out on the other side of the stitch, following the curve, so going upwards this time. Then up through the previous stitch of the hand, and down through the next. Back into the body now, and we'll go sideways across this stitch. Great job, and again, up through the previous stitch of the hand, and down through the next. Back into the body again, this time going down across the stitch. And now we can hide the yarn inside the body. Insert underneath the hand, into the body, bringing it out in the same spot as the other end. Now you can knot them together, trim the excess, and hide it away inside the body. Sew your other hand on the exact same way, and then all of the sewing is finished. Grab your black yarn, and we're going to embroider the eyes now. It's just going to be a small, simple line, 1 row below the ear, going over 1 stitch, with 1 stitch between it and the ear. Insert your needle right underneath the ear, skipping a couple stitches, and pull it all the way through, leaving a small bit sticking out from the back. Insert your needle into the body on the other side of this stitch, bringing it out on the other side of the head where the other eye is going to be. Pull it all the way through, and make sure you like the first eye. Then insert your needle on the other side of this stitch to make the second eye, bringing it out in the front of the head, and we're going to make the nose next. The nose is going to be a Y shape, and we're going to start by making the bottom of it, and we want the yarn to be coming out right in the middle, 1 row above the triple decrease. So get it to that point, and then we'll get started. Just kidding, go straight up 1 more row again. The triple decrease was just an easy reference point. Great job. Now insert your needle 1 row up, bringing it out 1 row up above that, but to the side, and then pull it all the way through. Now we're going to make the top of the Y shape, so insert your needle under the black line that we just made, and insert it into the body with 1 space between the top of the Y, and bring it out in the same space as our other end. Make sure that you like how it looks, then you can knot the ends together, trim them, and hide them away. I'd recommend placing your needle under this first dye just so that it doesn't get pulled super tight when you make the knot. And Juju, the Cappy in a Bath is officially finished. Thanks so much for joining me to make this. I hope you love yours as much as I love mine, and I'll see you next time. Bye!